Hi, thanks for joining me for a video that we're going to do before we do that quiz number 2. So take that same piece of paper that you did the notes on the video before that quiz number 1 and just draw a line. In fact, probably what you have is you have your video notes, and then underneath that you probably have your work from that quiz. So draw a line when you're done with all of that quiz number 1 stuff, and now title this Notes from the video for that quiz number 2. All right, so go ahead and write this down. Find the slope, y equals 5x minus 7. And you're like, this is over B. You're going back another unit. And you're right, I am. Because sometimes when we learn new things, we forget old things, and we need to be reminded of the old things. So let's just make sure that we remember. When we see an equation in this form, this is our y equals mx plus b form, right? And let's just remind ourselves that the number we see in front of the x, that's going to be our slope. So we're going to go ahead and write m equals 5. And slope, once again, is also rate of change, right? Rate of change is 5, slope is 5. Rate of change and slope are referring to the same thing. So go ahead and take a second and write this down. Find the slope of y equals negative 2x plus 4. So same thing here, right? Let's check out the magenta again. We know that the number in front of the x is our slope. So the slope is equal to negative 2. Some people might want to write m equals negative 2x. Don't be that person. Don't write that x. Just write the number. All right. Take a second, write this down, find the slope. Y equals x plus 12. And we'll notice there's not a number in front of x. Oh, no. But we're getting good at this. I've noticed in class, this doesn't trick us anymore. We know that if there's not a number in front of x, there's just one x. So, it's kind of redundant to put one x. It's kind of like me saying, instead of here's your test, here's one test. Or here, we just don't do that. If there's one of something, we're like, here, take that thing. All right, so slope is a number in front of our x, so the slope in this case is 1. Go ahead and write this down, find the slope. Y equals negative x minus 8. And we're looking at the same thing, right? We see the negative, but we can't say slope equals negative, right? We got to have a number. And so same thing, if you don't see a number, it's 1. So this is negative 1. All right, write it down, find the slope. Y equals 18. And you're probably like, Ms. Overby, there's no slope. I'm like, oh, so close. We have to use a number to describe the slope, right? Well, sometimes we have to use a word. But when we use a number to describe something that's missing, like if I'm missing $1 million in my bank account because I don't have $1 million, right? I just would have 0. I don't have $1 million. Well, I have more than 0 in my bank account, so that was not a good analogy. But we can rewrite this like y equals 0x plus 18, because all we have is 18. So let's pretend we just have $18 in our bank account plus $0 million. Okay, still not a really perfect analogy. But if we don't see an x, it's because our slope is 0, and 0 times x is just 0. Another way to think about this is think about what we know about the graph y equals 18, right? If that's 18 and my graph is y equals 18, that means my line, bloop, all the points, all the values, the y values on this line of every single point is 18. And if we were a person walking along on this line, we'd be like, man, this is easy walking. There's no slope here. I'm not having to truck up the mountain or down the mountain. It's flat. Just like how we walk, in our classroom on a flat floor. Well, technically nothing's perfectly flat. There's probably a teeny tiny slope to it, but we're not going to get into that. I guess we did, didn't we? All right, write it down. Find the slope. Y equals negative 2x. And so this is interesting. I think I did this one because there's no b, right? There's no y-intercept, and maybe that's going to confuse some people, but not us. We're going to look at that. We're like, we know what the slope is. It's that number in front of the x. All right, go ahead and write this down. Now we're switching to find the y-intercept. So once again, when we are looking at the y equals mx plus b, so the slope-intercept form, we know that in this case, the slope would be, I don't know why I just did that, the slope would be the slope would be the -2, right? And then the b is the +9. And so we have our b, and what's our b? Our y-intercept is a 9. I know it's weird. Why do they pick b to stand for the y-intercept? But we couldn't pick y because, y is a permanent fixture here. It's always going to be y equals something when we're looking at functions. So maybe they picked b because, hey, b does have something that looks like the y-axis, maybe, right? I don't know. That's as good of an explanation as I have. All right, find the y-intercept. Go ahead and write it down. Y equals -5x minus 3. Once again, we already know that this is our slope, and the -3 is our y-intercept. So listen, just like that Beyonce song, to the left, to the left. Okay, we're going to always, when we see a number, we are going to look to the left of that number to see what its sign is. And there, that's not a 3, that's a -3. So the y-intercept is -3. All right, and so here, we're not going to get confused, right? We understand that this technically doesn't have a slope, right? Who cares about the slope? But if we put it in this form, it might be easier to see that our y-intercept is 7. All right? I think that's it. Woo, that's it. All right. Thank you for joining me. Go to that quiz number 2, get that done, and then come back and watch the next video. Bye.